All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to our second webinar in our CRM Card Deep Dive series. This one is going to be on native gems. I'm Melissa Erickson, head of North America, and we are Engaging.io, an elite HubSpot partner. We've been focusing on CRM implementations for the past 15 years and then solely focused on HubSpot the last 7 years. I'm pleased to host today's webinar along with Erin Wiggers, who will be taking us through our topic of native gems today. She is the Director of Technical Strategy and Innovation. We will leave a little bit of time at the end for any questions. So along the way, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. Or you can also use the activity session at the bottom right-hand side where you can go into QA and put any questions. So Erin, I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for being here, everyone. As Melissa said, I am Erin Wiggers. I'm the Director of Technical Strategy and Innovation here at Engaging.io. I've been in the HubSpot ecosystem for about 10 years now. I started out as a self-taught front-end developer and have kind of made my way through to now being a full-stack solutions engineer. If you don't already, please follow me on LinkedIn. Feel free to hit me up with any questions after this. I would love to connect. So today's objectives, we're going to show you how to turn basically every CRM record into a mini dashboard. And the reason why you're going to want to do that is so that you can surface those role-specific insights and be able to make more data-driven decisions, get your team to actually adopt the system and use the processes that you've laid out for them. And then in our next session, as we said, this is session 2 of 4, our next session will be building it with AI. So join us for that. We'll get into some custom cards. But today is all about native CRM cards. And these are, just to remind you, these are the visual blocks that are within the CRM record itself. So you've got the left and right sidebars and then the middle pane. These cards are available on all plans. The only caveat is that you must have permissions to customize the record page layout in order to accomplish anything that you're seeing in the webinar today. So if you're not a super admin, make sure you ask for that specific permission and you'll be ready to go. I want to talk just a little bit before we dive in about how to go about customizing these records. So you're going to want to align them with your processes. And the kind of general idea is that you want to keep your users from having to click more than a few times, keep it all in one screen, make navigating the CRM a little easier. So the way I would recommend you do this, list out all the teams that use your CRM. For each team, list the actions that they need to be able to take as part of their role. And then for each action, break it down into triggers, the data needed, and then any friction points. So if maybe the process calls for filling in certain data points and they're not being filled in, you want to know that so that you can try to make that easier for users. Make it easy to follow the process, and people will be more willing to do that. And as I said, we're going to create kind of these mini dashboards inside the record view. So the demo that I have set up that we're going to dive into is for a hypothetical company called Apex Arena Technologies. And we're going to look at a deal from the sales rep's point of view and kind of dive into how all of that is set up. And so let's get into it. Just to kind of orient you with everything you see here, we've got the left and right sidebars and then the middle pane. We will spend most of our time today looking at ways to customize the middle pane, and then we'll talk just a little bit about some features of the other panels. And then also a reminder of how to get to the edit screen. We went over this a little bit in our first webinar, but you'll click on this Customize button or any of the gear icons that you see here. That will take you directly to edit that particular card. But if you want to edit different views, you can click the Customize button. Always try to separate things into your different teams. That just makes it easier for people to find relevant information. They're not having to kind of sift through whatever service is working on just to make the sale. So here's our sales team edit screen. Once you get into here, the edit options for left and right are there. And then to add anything to the middle pane, you can click this little green plus, and that's going to bring up all of the middle column cards that you have available to you. So as you can see, there's a lot, and we probably won't have time to get through all of them today, but I will try to show you as many as possible. And then just keep in mind, these are all super flexible. There's lots of different ways that you can customize them. So my main goal here today is to kind of get your wheels turning about what's possible with some of these native features. Awesome. So with all of that said, let's jump into some examples that I have set up here. So number one, this deal stage tracker. So you have two options for this kind of tracker interface. One is to track the actual object that you're on. The other is to track an associated object. So you do have options there, like maybe if you wanted to track the deal stage on the actual contact or on the company so that you know what's going on there. Again, it's all about kind of reducing the amount of clicks to get to the information that you need. So this is one of my favorites. Clients tend to love this. It's just a really easy kind of visual for people to kind of get the information they need. It's also got these editable properties here, and all of these are customizable. So you can choose what the user has the ability to edit. Oh, real quick, I'm gonna go back a step here. You'll notice that I have different tabs here, and those tabs are also customizable. So let me show you really quick. You can add a new tab or change the order of your tabs really easily. And so you can kind of group your CRM cards even further within the UI. So that's super handy. And the way that I kind of think of the different tabs here is my overview is more about surfacing important information. The dashboard is for actionable steps, the things that people need to actually do within the CRM. And then revenue is just going to be a super fun tab for us to look at because it has a bunch of reports. And so I'm excited to show you that one, but let's go in order here. So my overview tab doesn't really have a lot of editable things because, like I said, it's more about surfacing information. This deal score card is a HubSpot native feature that I've already marked the deal as closed won at some point. So it's not shown over here, but what you would see here is essentially values for the deal score that kind of indicate likelihood of closing and gives you some additional information about progress, which is really cool. The data highlights card, one you've probably seen a bunch, but you can actually edit that. The key thing about the data highlights is you can't edit any of these properties. So maybe if it's a calculated property or a property that someone's not expecting to need to edit, I would definitely use the data highlights card for that. We've also got the ability to measure the time between two date properties. So this is the date of the deal opening, and then this is their estimated go live date. So we're kind of counting up to that. There's also the ability to make that red instead. So if they're counting down to maybe a promo being ending, you can change that color as well. So lots of different ways to customize this. Outbound activity totals, this can also very easily be inbound activity totals, so you can kind of see things at a glance. You'll also be able to modify the time box on that, which is also super handy. Upcoming activities you've probably seen before. Let's get into the dashboard. So this is what I think is going to be most helpful to your users. And that's things like quick actions, the ability to edit properties and have them, grouped in a way that is easy to understand. And this is actually editing the associated record. So I'm editing the associated company in this block. You can also edit the actual deal information itself. So going back to less clicks is better. Now I don't have to click over to the company record just to make a quick change to, the industry or the description or something like that. These quick actions are some of my favorites. You have the ability to add a note, add a task, add any kind of association, add any kind of object, and then you can also link to different URLs, which is, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a request for something like that. So if, for example, the sales rep needs to reference a term sheet or something during their calls, you could easily click to view that URL and have them be able to reference that quickly. So again, surfacing things that are going to be helpful in the flow of work. This can also be an app page. So if you want to take them to a specific view, or if the next step is to go to a workflow or something like that, you can add that there as well. You can also have tables for associated objects. So if you have something where there's going to be a ton of associations and you only get to see two or three over here in the sidebar. So if you have more than that and you want to be able to search and filter those different objects, you can easily do that here. You can modify the properties that are shown, which is also really helpful. Real quick before we jump into the revenue tab, because that's a rabbit hole that we'll be going down together, I wanted to quickly point out this enroll in a workflow. So this is something that you will need to edit in the sidebar. So you only have two options there, and one of them is enroll in a workflow. And then you'll be able to select from any workflows that apply to that object. And it is multi-select. So if we go to this one, you can have multiple workflows that are visible, and it'll also show you when the last time they were enrolled in that workflow was, which is really handy as well. So in this example, I have workflows to send a promo reminder or send a discount code. So the rep could easily, kind of engage that way. There, you can also, so since you can enroll in a sequence from a workflow, you can also enroll in a sequence with these buttons as well. So that's super helpful. And now let's get into my favorite, which is the ability to show any single object report on the card itself. So if we look at my reports here, I've just got kind of a handful that I wanted to kind of help you understand what the difference is between what you're going to see in the main report versus the single card. So in this example, we're breaking down line items by net price and product type. And the way that we're doing that is we have the report, which is a single object report on line items, and then we're filtering the report by the associations. So you're able to show just the data from either the associated object or the object itself within the report. So you kind of have to be thinking in a lot of dimensions to really find the really good use cases for this. But the ones that I thought were definitely worth showing, things like line items, by price and product type, line items by billing frequency. So over here we've got annual versus one time. You can see an activities breakdown. So this is an activity leaderboard by the team, and we're getting the associated objects, so associated contacts with this, and the contacts are rolling up into the team itself. There's also the ability to see different contact activities. There's also a separate card here for property history, so you can see trends over time, maybe in the forecast amount or any other kind of number property. Things like scores would be really handy to kind of visualize this way. And then the activities tab most people are familiar with. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, so we're right at the 20-minute mark. So I want to make sure we have time for any questions. So I'm just going to kind of blaze through these last couple of slides here. Just kind of want to reiterate some of my personal favorites that are going to really enhance adoption for your processes. Any of the trackers, the stages, or the property value, I think are super helpful. The quick actions, I love. I get a lot of requests for things like that. And I think, having to click around to different things to add those associations can be a little bit cumbersome. And then also as a fun bonus in that right column, enroll in a workflow. And then with single object reports, honestly, the possibilities are endless. Please, if you come up with a good use case, please message me or hit me up on LinkedIn. I would love to hear just some of the creative ways that y'all end up using this, because again, there's so many directions you can go with that. And just to kind of wrap up here with best practices, start by mapping your processes, and then really think through everything, starting with object types, then the team views of those object types, and just make sure that you're showing people relevant data and not just all the things all the time, because if they're having to scroll or click a bunch of times to get to where they need to go, it's only going to cause friction. And so you'll have a much better user experience if you utilize these cards.
Yeah, thanks, Erin.
Of course.
Right. Let's see if we have any questions to cover. One of the things I was just thinking about when you're talking about the best practices is, we tend to talk about contacts, right, in deals the most, but every object is applicable. So company, so you could really get into the weeds about updating all the different objects that your organization is using and making sure they're all specific. Like it could take quite a bit of time to really lay it out for everything that they're using.
For sure. And it is a little bit of like kind of legwork at the beginning, but I feel like everything after that just goes so smoothly that it's definitely worth the investment of time up front.
Definitely. But I could see how someone could be a little overwhelmed to think like, oh, I've got to do all these things. Of course, start with the most important ones, right? And then
just kind of pick one and go for it. And then you'll learn things doing that first one that'll make the second one easier, and
Yep.
then so on and so on until it's second nature and you're thinking of the use cases kind of on the fly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't see any questions for us today, so I think we'll just go ahead and wrap up. So we do have our next one that is going to be coming up in 3 weeks. So it will be on the, let's see, I guess it's the first week of August, again on a Wednesday at 12 Eastern. And this time we're going to be talking about building a custom CRM card with AI. So we're going to be moving out of native land and moving into custom land for those that are interested in that, or at least want to know how it works, right? I think it's applicable to everyone, but probably more applicable to even those dev or tech friendly folks that really want to get in there and learn how to do that. The recording for the session will be sent out to you as kind of a post follow-up to this event. And if you're registered, you will receive that. So all recordings, especially for the first one, will be available as well. Join us in 3 weeks. Can't wait to see you, and we will see you then. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.